welcome to the Creative Corner. My name is Noah.
I'm Aaron.
And I am Tyler.
And man, we're pumped that you have tuned in with us today. And man, we got an incredible guest today. You see this good-looking guy sitting right beside me. It is Garrett Foster from Messenger Down. And man, he's just all around Kingdom Hearts mastermind, right?
Right. little bit.
But man, really glad. Like, appreciate you coming and hanging out with us, man. Yeah. Man, I'm just excited to pick your brain and just dive into all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'm stoked to be here. We've been trying to make this work for a little while. There was, the music video I shot with Dion. Then we had to reschedule after that. And then I didn't see your message because I just suck at checking my messages everywhere. And then I was like, whoa, I missed this. Can we please make this happen?
Yes.
So
we're here.
We're
here. And well, man, to dive in. So I've seen through a social media post and Tyler and Aaron and I were just having a debate before you even got here. I've seen you post before of something with Chase Atlantic before.
Oh yeah.
And so these guys are debating hardcore. I don't know if you've heard their new album.
Oh no, I love them. Those are my boys.
Okay, yeah. So
Thank you.
You're gonna have to settle the debate here because it's pretty heated as far as where their album ranks on people's list for this year's releases.
Okay.
And so y'all wanna just duke it out real quick? There might be a fist fight.
There might be.
I don't care what he says. That is like top 5, at least top 5 albums of this year. It is so good.
Look, no.
Yes.
I think I have it at 15-ish right now.
No.
The album's good. There's been a lot of great music this year. But
nobody's had any other option but to make music.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but me and Tyler get into it all the time of just a little bit different tastes. On that, but Chase Atlantic album's good, but it's not.
Look, back when what's the first album?
First.
No.
Because I was going to say first album or first EP. I've been following those guys since, their nickname was the 1975 Sauce.
Oh.
Because if you've gone back... if you go back to their very, very first EP, they literally sound like you took the 1975 and 5 Seconds of Summer and kind of molded them together.
Mm-hmm.
Completely different from what they're doing now. All good music, but
See, me and him found out about them. We went to see Sleeping with Sirens.
Yeah, I was at that show.
Yeah, they were one of the opener bands, and we're like, we hadn't heard of them. Looking through some of the bands, we're like, we haven't heard of them. Palais Royale at the time, we hadn't heard of them either. But that Palais Royale comes on, they do their thing, and then Chase Atlantic setting up. We see a saxophone come out. Hold up.
Yeah.
The marching band guy in me was intrigued by that because I was like, "Ooh, saxophone."
Yeah.
Okay.
But they were like one of those rare bands. Whenever I go to a show, and it's like I'm there for Sleeping with Sirens for that case, but Chase Atlantic impressed me the most.
Yeah.
It was like the same thing with Point North. Like we went to go see As It Is, hadn't heard of Point North, and that was my favorite part of the entire show.
I think us was Silent Planet too.
Oh yeah, Silent Planet. Yeah.
Silent Planet was someone that someone put me onto, and I didn't listen to their music leading up to I don't remember what year Warped Tour they were on, but I popped in and was super blown away.
Oh
yeah. We saw them with For Today. They opened for For Today with Gideon, and it was just them. Well, there was
I think there was a couple local bands, but
I only knew a couple of For Today songs. I wasn't even huge. I only went to go because you couldn't go, and he had the extra ticket. He's like, "You want to go?" Well, yeah, sure.
Heck yeah.
But yeah, Silent Planet was.
Yeah.
Moral of the story: Chase Atlantic's album is fantastic.
So as far as Chase Atlantic albums are concerned, I would probably put it kind of toward the middle for me personally, just because I really like what they did on Phases.
That's my favorite one.
And I thought Self-Titled was there's a couple of weaker songs on it, but for the most part it's really solid. The EPs, Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, killer. The Lost EP, what was that called? Paradise, which they ended up putting it up on Spotify finally. But that was supposed to come out in 2015 or 2016 or something. And then they released a song called Obsessive and then lost it. I don't know. And then on the I don't know. It was the big tour after Self-Titled came out. They just had copies of it and were like, yeah, you can only get them here.
Oh wow!
And that was super cool.
Yeah. We just went to August Burns Red and Fit for a King a couple weeks ago. Well, Chase, and it was at the Fillmore in Charlotte. And Chase Atlantic was playing at the Underground the same day, which was tough to not. But it was funny because we were standing in line, and I forget the singer's name for Chase, the main one,
Mitchell.
And we were going to walk, and he's like, he rolls out of his bus and just walks right in between. He's like, "Excuse me, guys," and then walks through, and he's got 6 Gucci bags on top of each other, and he's just like, "Excuse me, guys," and then he had the brightest white shoes in the world, and then stepped right in the mud puddle, and it stepped right in the mud puddle. I'm like, oh, I feel so bad for this dude.
That show though, I like August Burns Red, okay, but I told him, I was like, if there's a ticket available after Fit for King's, because Fit for King's my favorite band, but after they're done, I'm going over to see Chase Atlantic.
No, that thing sold out super quick before I could even get a ticket for it. I was super bummed because that was I was kind of looking forward to that maybe being the first show that I went to post COVID. Other than a little local show that I went to. But then it sold out. So I was like, never mind.
The time that if I can speak English, the time that I found out that it was a thing is the exact same time I found out it sold out. I was like, nah,
that's okay.
Great. Yeah, or I could have bought the $250 resale ticket.
Oh my gosh.
That was crazy. But on the same topic of just different tastes in music and stuff, what all kinds of bands or artists kind of inspired you to get into music?
Well, probably the earliest thing that I can cite as a real influence is Linkin Park. And people don't really get that out of the music I make.
Right.
But that was kind of what made me go, okay, well, maybe making music would be cool. And then when I got a little older, it was, My Chemical Romance and, that entire wave of bands and that whole era. That was when I, decided, okay, this is for sure something I want to do.
Right.
As far as Messenger Down, really early on, the biggest influences were, Panic at the Disco, pre-hiatus Fall Out Boy. Mayday Parade was a big one. But I was also really into stuff like Foster the People and MGMT.
Oh, yeah.
And cool. I never really got to touch on that with those early releases. And then my EP Cheating Death, I started incorporating a lot more of those electronic indie type influences. The 1975 Halsey, The Weeknd.
Yeah.
Stuff that's a little bit more synth driven.
Yeah.
And then the most recent stuff that I put out, which is a long, complicated story. More of just the same. I got way into synthesizers because pop punk in the mid 2010s just kind of bummed me out, that whole crew neck era.
Right.
A lot of people love it, and that's cool, but most of those bands I just wasn't crazy about. I really for me, the perfect era of pop punk is it has a fake name called Hollistercore, which is the stupidest sounding thing in the world. But it's it's that era where MySpace bands weren't on TRL yet, but they were still blowing up and making waves on a smaller scale. And if you walked into Hollister, you'd hear Take This to Your Grave era Fall Out Boy playing, stuff The Higher, The Audition, Armor for Sleep, You, Me, and Everyone We Know. So many cool bands from back then. And I don't know, I got super out of pop punk in the 2010s and super into synthesizers. So
explains it pretty well.
Yeah.
But even just with Messenger Down, so talking through that, what kind of inspired you to do that? Because Messenger Down, it's pretty much just you, and then you'll have people come in and doing live shows. And stuff. What kind of brought all of that together to then eventually kind of what it is now? I know COVID's been crazy, and so it's kind of put everything but where it's led to up to this point.
Well, obviously back in high school, trying to play in bands, and you want to get it together with your best friends and just write music and play music, and that is a lot harder than some people. It's a lot harder for some people than others because I grew up out here in Cabarrus County, North Carolina, and I didn't really have that many friends that were into the same kinds of music as I was.
Yeah,
and
totally
even my best friend, he wasn't into the same type of music that I was. Because back, in high school, I wanted to sound like Icy Stars or Sleeping with Sirens or like, the kind of stuff that was super, super poppin' back then. But he was more into like Death Clock and like Mastodon and things like that. And like our brains just like didn't click together.
Right.
So when I started Messenger Down, I was like, okay, like I want this to kind of be like, Say Anything is Max Bemis. You know what I mean? He writes and plays like 90% of everything. He does have session musicians come in. I don't think he's played drums on anything, which, I can relate. I suck at drums. But I did play on Cheating Death, which is a little bit of a, it's not that good. But yeah, I just kind of like, I hated, the process of like I really wanted to make music work. Like that's the only thing I ever wanted to do. But I hated that becoming like a conflict between people that I was like best friends with. So I wanted to make the music and put things out. And if I found people that were into it, then, we'd start playing together. And then that's kind of what happened, because through 2013 to 2015, it technically was like, for all intents and purposes, a band.
Right.
There were, I started it in 2012, and it was about a year and a half before me and the group of guys that I was playing with came together and were like, you know what, let's just do this together.
Yeah.
And, it was great for like 6 months, and then it became that revolving door of member changes, and I didn't want that. And then that, like, I kind of got like pissy and controlling and like was a little bit of an asshole at times, because when I started it, I had this vision or this idea of like, I'll never have to deal with this again. But then I was dealing with it, and it sucked. And then after, a year and a half, 2 years or so of that revolving door, member changes, people coming in and out, like, it just kind of like hit a breaking point, and the guys I was playing with like moved on to do something else. They started this band called Ghosts Again, which was really, really sick. Great musicians, great music. And then that was when I kind of took a step back and said, okay, like I can just keep doing this the way that I started in the beginning. Yeah. I got a session drummer, which is no longer playing with me. And then I just, played a lot, and I don't know, like, it just felt really, really good doing it that way again. But, I hit a couple of massive roadblocks at the end of 2018. Didn't really do that much through 2019, and then obviously COVID hit in 2020 and kind of set me back even farther. But, I'm figuring it out.
For sure.
Are.
Yeah,
not post-COVID world, but making its way out.
Yeah, 100%. And especially, too, with kind of like shows and festivals and stuff, opening back up, venues are now opening up their doors. There's safety precautions and stuff there. Have you seen kind of some great opportunities kind of opening themselves up, or being able to like jump in and even just being a part of the music scene again? It's what has that been like for you?
I mean, it's been kind of weird for me, because like I haven't done anything in so long.
Right.
And, one of the massive roadblocks I hit at the end of 2018 was like my live session drummer got himself into some trouble, and I had to fire him and sever that relationship. Wow. And I had a couple of guys fill in through the handful of shows I did in 2019, but I kind of had always worked my live show around it's me and then the samples, and then I have a live drummer. Yeah. I don't have that now, so I don't know when I'm gonna start playing shows again, or what I'm gonna start doing as far as like performances. I've thought of a couple things that I might try, but I would hate to my first show back in like, it will be 3 years next year. I would hate for that to be something that's like an early step in a work in process. I want to kind of be sure about it. But I mean, the Charlotte still has plenty of stuff going on.
Oh yeah,
there was that massive like 3-day Welcome to the Family Fest out at the Milestone, and that was sick.
Yeah.
I've been to a handful of shows here and there. My buddies Yugo, who are like a synth pop band from Boone. They've done a handful of shows in Charlotte, and that's been awesome. That was my first show back from
that's
COVID,
cool. Yeah.
Was seeing them at Jack Beagle's, which that was like, it was super weird because it was still, everybody was wearing masks. It was still kind of like, it wasn't pre-vaccine, but it was still very early stages of vaccine.
Yeah.
I hadn't gotten it yet at that point, and I was like kind of nervous to like go out and be at a show, but then being at a show was like,
this is awesome.
Yeah, like okay, like it's one of those moments where you kind of like get to sit back and be like, okay, we're gonna be okay.
Yeah, it was even just that with my wife and I. We just got married back in March, and being able to go, which we actually, I think we're going to talk about it, but we went to Disney World for our honeymoon, and just being around that many people for a time spent, I was like, this is wild. I forgot what this is like.
Dude, like, so the crazy thing is 2019, even though I didn't really do a lot of like Messenger Down stuff, I play, I'm like a live session guitarist for an R&B artist named Dion Reverie. I was just in his music video for a song called Hell Street, which is like a sick song. But I did a bunch of shows with him through the end of 2019. I went to Disney World in 2019 for the first time, and that was like, yeah, it's just cool that you mentioned Disney World because like I was still doing all these like neat things, and it felt like I was still in it, but I wasn't.
Right.
And then COVID hit, and then everything stopped.
Just came to a halt.
And for a little bit, it felt like nice that everyone else was kind of like, oh no, what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
Kind of the way I had been for the last like couple months prior to that. But then, obviously now people are starting to play shows again and
for sure.
get things together. There's so many cool new projects that have popped up because like people didn't have anything better to do.
Yeah.
Everyone's just like, hey, let's make some music.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. It's just like, it is really encouraging seeing, just all this new music and the way that the scene is kind of bounced back. Yeah. I don't remember what your initial question was.
Oh, no. You hit it. You hit it on the head.
I'm really bad at rambling, and I will start. You'll ask a question that puts me here, but I will have an answer that takes me all the way over there, and then I'll be like, dang it, how did I get there? What was your question? And then no one will know.
Yeah. No, but it's cool that we were hitting on you just taking that trip to Disney right before. I figure all of us are relatively good Disney fans.
Yeah.
As an artist, like if we were to put you on the spot right now, and you had to pick one Disney song for a karaoke.
Ooh. I love the music from Lion King. Mm-hmm. I very much think Lion King is a little bit overrated as far as Disney. Like a lot of people cite it as being like the one, but I think there's so many that are just as good, if not better. That being said, I Just Can't Wait to Be King is a slapper.
Come on,
that is my ringtone.
Yeah.
Even the new rendition with I don't remember the actor's name that plays young Simba, but even the like new one is so dope. Mm-hmm. It's so great. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's incredible. And just we're about to do with our church. We're about to do a whole Disney karaoke thing for our we call them Dream Team, but our volunteers. Mm-hmm. And we got to pick out a song.
I'm trying to convince Tyler to sing "Whole New World" with me from Aladdin.
He's gonna even sing the female part.
I'm even gonna sing the Jasmine part.
That is a good one.
You don't want to hear me sing.
Look, I've heard you sing.
Look, you've heard me legitimately sing at one show, and it never happened again.
Because that was our last show. I'm just kidding.
Me and Carly have joked about me playing the drums and then her just humming the melody to the Monsters Inc. theme song. It'd be great. It'd be so great.
Throughout this entire conversation, I've just been going back in my head. I'm like, is that the right pick? And I'm thinking of like you mentioned Whole New World, and now I'm thinking of like Hercules has some great songs.
In the Distance.
Yeah. There's so many good.
Goodness. Yeah, I can't. We're about to take a family trip in February.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to go back.
Yeah. I think my girlfriend and I are trying to go in March for her birthday.
Nice.
If you guys go late February and we go early March, maybe we'll bump into
that's
each other at the airport or
That's the
something.
game plan. That's the game plan. Then we can sing all the Disney songs together.
Exactly.
See, her family is like vacation pass members or whatever that thing is.
Yeah.
So, like, I remember there was one time, like, the one time we went, at one point, her family was there at the beginning, and then they went back home, but then came back and was there for another, like, week or two after we left. We were only there for a couple of days. But yeah, crazy.
Speaking of Disney, we mentioned it while we were talking beforehand of Kingdom Hearts.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. I ask everybody this who's played it that I talk to.
Okay.
Which one is the best that you've played?
So my personal favorite is 2.
Thank you.
2 is my personal favorite.
You're just making his
my day.
head.
You're making my day.
Dude, listen.
My argument said.
What? So which one is your favorite?
So, I'll explain when I say it, but it's 3.
Okay.
I didn't play any of the
Respectable.
Kingdom Hearts games until they all came out for Xbox.
Okay.
So I just rushed through every single one of them. So like the biggest majority of it is like, this is the easiest to control. This one looks the best. That's like the majority of it for me.
So,
I didn't have that connection everybody else did.
Yeah, so I'm going to be completely honest. I don't have a PS4 because for the last 10 years I've been tunnel vision music and I didn't want to buy another game station.
Sure.
So I still haven't actually played 3, but I have watched the full game on YouTube.
All right.
So I feel like I kind of am a bit skewed in that way. But with that being said, I did just replay them within the last 6 months or so.
Yeah.
And 2 is it improves on everything that was kind of iffy about 1.
Right.
2's story is a little bit flimsier than 1's because 1, every time you visit every single island or planet or whatever, there's a specific set of events that go on and you find the keyhole. It's almost like a scavenger hunt. But in 2...
It just kind of appears.
It just kind of appears on every single world.
Yeah.
He's just oh, hey, we solved a big mystery or a big problem. Oh, what's that? He's wearing a hat. And now it's flying? Keyhole. Boom.
Yeah. No,
That's my one big critique about 2.
I think the gameplay, the gameplay mechanics and everything in 2 is just phenomenal with drive forms and all that. And I like 3 as well. Me and him will argue over that. I wasn't a huge fan of some of the mechanics in 3. And more the story, but I remember.
Look, I've expressed my feelings about the ending of 3 too. But other than that, it's I know we had talked about this at one time. It was 3 that it was you went through them one time and then had to go back to them.
No, that was 2.
Or that was 2?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, never mind. Then I liked that about 2. Then they had the normal story and then
the Kingdom Hearts story.
Yeah. I thought that was 3. Never
You
mind.
just convinced him in his own argument.
Right. Yeah.
Either way, I still like 3 more.
Don't you also do that a little bit in 1? There are some worlds you have to go back to.
A couple the core worlds.
Yeah.
Like Traverse Town and Hollow Bastion.
I think the incentive to revisit in 1 though is more so the Trinity marks.
The Trinity marks and the
first-
Dalmatians, because you get all the Dalmatians at the beginning. Yeah. But yeah, Kingdom Hearts was one of the first games that made me fall in love with video games and Disney in general.
Yeah.
So
Did you play the original first or Final Mix?
original.
Okay,
Yeah, I played it when I was 7.
Yeah. I remember renting Kingdom Hearts, the original one from Blockbuster, because that was still a thing, right?
Yes.
But renting it from Blockbuster and the day we had to give it back, I wanted to hear the intro song one last time, and my brother wouldn't stop singing along from outside the room, and it was the worst.
Oh my
gosh. And it was awful. But I don't know. They're such good games, and. I don't know. Okay, so the gummy ship stuff, though. 1 or 2?
3, technically.
Okay.
3.
Okay.
The gummy ship stuff was the best in 3.
Okay.
Me and him were actually doing a bunch of the gummy ship stuff. We're just the other day just talking to each other. And,
Yeah.
but between 1 and 2 too.
Okay. Did you ever make the donut into?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't know anything about that.
See, I just rushed through the first few, and then that went off again so I just have 3 now.
In 1 and 2, you could just do a square donut out of the whole thing, and all the enemies were stupid enough that they only shot to the middle.
The hitbox is very small in the middle.
So if you just put a hole in the middle, they can never hit you because all the bullets.
See, like with 3 though, like well, I mean, I didn't really like the gummy ship stuff in the first 2 anyway. But like with 3 being like an open world type gummy ship thing, I was fine with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a little annoying, going and trying to get all the synthesis materials.
Yeah,
just because I want to do that.
Yeah, but that was one. And you said you haven't played 3.
No.
Right? Okay.
But like, if you want to spoil something, go for it. I'll watch the whole movie.
To get Ultimate Weapon in there, you had to do gummy ship missions to get the synthesis materials for it, and it was just like, you're making me do gummy ship stuff. Like, I don't really care to do any gummy ship stuff, but I guess if I have to, get this.
Yeah, well, that's like in 2. Like in 1, you don't have like completion percentages for any of them. You just like fly through them and shoot, and then at some point you get to warp.
Yeah.
But in 2, they have the specific missions and the specific like rewards and stuff. I cleared all of the first ones to whatever the best rating was. It's either like S or S plus or something, and then I didn't do the second tier or third tier of any of them.
Yeah.
But I mean, the only things you really get are gummy ship stuff from them, so it doesn't really impact the rest of the game.
Right.
It impacting the rest of the game in 3 is a little bit of a bummer. But
yeah.
So what I'm hearing is the next Messenger Down project is going to be a concept album just based on Kingdom Hearts.
Not necessarily Kingdom Hearts, but the funny thing is I have like found ways to like put small little shout outs or references to things that like I've gotten really into during this like whole entire COVID process. Like Gundam, I have completely like gotten way too into Gundam. And like Final Fantasy and stuff, like I've got samples from like Gundam sound effects or like little sounds from Final Fantasy or something, and have like put them in songs.
Yeah, that's it.
And they're like hidden in there, so like unless you know what you're looking for, you wouldn't know that that's from Gundam.
Yeah.
But I've worked a lot.
It means a lot to you then,
right?
In those moments,
exactly.
That's dope. With that too, what I love picking other musicians' brains about is when you go into writing a song, especially for you, because there's so many different like elements.
Yeah.
I mean, you can listen to your music and then tell like there's so many different genre influences in there. Whenever you go to write a song, what does it look like a lot of times? What are some of the different ways that you kind of get it? Is it, for some people, it's the whole stereotypical, I'm going to sit with an acoustic guitar and play the song. For other people, it's, I'm going to make this entire instrumental and then I'm going to throw lyrics in later. What does that process kind of look like for you?
So that is such a hard question for me to answer because it's all of the above and none of the above at the same time. Like every single song is a completely different process. A lot of my favorites and a lot of the ones that I like gravitate toward, I do get a lyrical idea first. And then like even when I was a kid and didn't know anything about like music theory or guitar or notes, scales, anything, like I would just write lyrics and I could like hear the song playing in my head while I was writing it. So I know what I want the drums to do, the guitars, any synthesizers, any weird melodies, like, you know, I know what I want the rest to sound like. Yeah. But there are songs that start as instrumental ideas. There are songs that start as like I'm just strumming something out on a guitar and I'm like, ooh, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you know, then there's other times when like I hear something that someone else did and I'll go, okay, that was sick. How can I do that but different?
Right.
And then, you know, I'll you know, sometimes I'll take something that someone else has written and then deconstruct it and then kind of figure out you know, a different way to kind of go about that same idea. One of the albums I like doing that a lot with is like A Fever You Can't Sweat Out by Panic at the Disco. Yeah. Like that was the blueprint for, you know, Messenger Down because it has a lot of like the first half has all the dancey stuff and the synthy stuff, and the second half has all of like the theatrical stuff, the strings, I think there's accordion in one of the songs. And that's, you know, I love just listening through that album and being able to deconstruct it now that I understand music a lot more than I did when I was like 16, 17, 18 years old. And because at that age, I had always wondered, like, okay, what is it about this album that I gravitate toward and love so much about it and like kind of want to take a stab at? And now I can pick out those exact things and go, okay, that's sick. You know, I'm gonna try something like that.
Yeah, that's cool. That's so sick.
But yeah, like every song is different. Right now, my 2 favorite songs that are unreleased. One of them was an instrumental first. Mm-hmm. I had the full beat instrumental. It's got kind of like almost. It's a lot more R&B. Got a little bit of indie pop with like the guitars and stuff. Yeah. But that was an instrumental first, whereas the other song that's my favorite was 100% lyrical first. I had at least like a good 80-90% of the lyrics done before I actually started writing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's crazy. It's weird too because I mean very very similar with stuff of. It's my wife laughs at me now that we live together. Because now somebody else is experiencing my weirdness, right? Because she'll hear me upstairs, and because a lot of times, especially like the past year, any songs that I've written, most of them start off with I have a melody in my head, right? And I write lyrics all the time, but for melodies to mesh with lyrics, it doesn't always blend that way. Right. But she'll just hear me like mumbling melodies that have no incoherent words, and it's just mumbling random stuff, and then she's like, what are you doing?
What is that? Yeah.
And then I'll tell her, like, it'll make sense, I promise. And there's times where she'll sit up like and watch me work on stuff, and it's like, and then I'll like go in and like add a lyric over top of that melody. That makes so much more sense now. And so that tends to be a lot of, and it's crazy to think of things because I know other friends that if they don't have an acoustic guitar in their hands and they're singing along with it, they can't write a song, which is crazy because for me it's so scrambled and it's so different for each thing. But that's definitely really cool. Is there this will be like a very not surface level question. It's a little bit deeper, but I'm sure you get into moments where you just have writer's block too. Yeah. What are some ways have you found like things that help you kind of push through that? Anything of like. I mean, honestly, for me, it's going to sound like elementary, but for me, it's honestly, if I watch a Disney movie, I'll like, it just, something inspires me. Yeah. Is there anything that kind of helps push through those moments?
Well, to kind of bounce off of something that you said prior to asking the question, the whole mumbling out a melody and then finding it hard to put words to, that is 9 times out of 10 the reason I get into writer's block, because I'll get a melody that I love, but I can't find the word that triggers the rest of the lyric to come. But as far as working through writer's block, I mean, kind of in the same vein, like I just kind of want to experience something else, whether it be a movie or a game, like... Because of COVID, I have no-lifed my way through every single Final Fantasy from 6 to 13. And because I didn't have a PS3, I borrowed my girlfriend so that I could play 13. And I have the sequel that I'm about to start, and then I still have to buy the, Lightning Returns. But, for me, it's like it's finding something else that kind of will help put the word in my head. Because like I kind of mentioned earlier, like, a lot of my favorite songs do start lyrics first. Yeah. And a lot of the times I find myself in writer's block is when I have an awesome instrumental that I love and then I want to put something really cool over, but I'm struggling because, like, I also write a lot of different kinds of lyrics. I'm capable of writing something very introspective and, uses a lot of, like, big words and... sounds interesting to the ear, but I also really like I'm a huge Black Bear fan, and like none of his lyrics are like that. It's fun music, so there has to be like a fine line there. And because I like both styles, sometimes what I'll end up doing is I'll come up with something that's like in the middle, but not in a good way. Like, it's a little bit simpler, and like it would be fun if it wasn't about the topic that it's about.
Right.
So then I have to kind of make a decision and you know, which way do I want to go with it? And it's those thought processes that kick me into writer's block.
Yeah.
Thinking about it too much and not being able to like find the answer.
Right.
That's what kind of shuts my brain down. And from there, I just kind of have to, you know, steer into the skid.
Yeah.
You know, take my mind off of it completely, and then maybe something will come.
Yeah. Oh, there's definitely times where it's, you know, you spend, you know, hours working on one thing, and it's like, man, I can't get anywhere. And then at that point, you just get frustrated. You're just like, well, I can't. My brain is supposed to do this, and it won't, and I don't. And like, you just get frustrated at it. But a lot of times, what it ends up happening is, you know, it could spend, you know, 3 hours working on a song, and then feel like I'm not getting anywhere. And then just randomly one day, 3 months down the road, it's like you just have this thought of like, oh, and you think of a lyric, or you think of something, it's like, wait a minute, that'd go perfect with that. And then like, it's then like you jump in, you spent 3 hours trying to make something happen that one day, and then you end up having a thought, and then you finish the song in 15 minutes because it's just the right moment.
Yeah, anytime anyone ever asks me for like advice in regards to writer's block and stuff like that, I always just say like, don't force it.
Yeah.
You know, because when you try to force it, like I was saying, when I, you know, write stuff that's like, it would be fun if it wasn't about what it's about, or, you know, it should be a more serious topic, but it, you know, half of the song is kind of, not to say brainless, but like it's just kind of, it's fun things to sing.
Yeah.
You know, most of that comes from me trying to force something out. You know, and like I said, I just take a step back, do something else, and hope that eventually that thought will pop in my head that makes me go, okay, let's like pull that back up. I actually have a song that I like have been sitting on and kind of going through this process with, that I like just finished within the last like week or so, when I started like pre-proing it out. It's actually 2 songs stuck together that kind of like flow into each other. I love stuff like that, and that never happens anymore because everyone's about singles and EPs and like quick drops. But I like, I was literally just working through this process with a song, and it's super rewarding when you finally like have slaved away at one, and now you're super happy.
It makes sense. 100%. Yeah, and so moving forward, like the next, I know we're wrapping up this year, which is wild that it's years gone by as fast as it has. But what is the future for Messenger Down? What does that look like with new music and, you know, all that kind of stuff?
So the thing is, I don't know yet. Because
I feel that.
So I've got I kind of, when I first started self-producing at the end of 2018, it was kind of out of necessity. I had recorded an album with a guy who then moved across the country, didn't talk to me for 6 months, and then kind of was like going back on the deal we had made prior to him moving. And it felt super shady. So I was like, whatever, you do you. Keep the money. Don't give me the songs. I'm gonna redo it. So I have that whole album of stuff that should have come out like 2 or 3 years ago. I have a whole album of like sad stuff that I've written about just the past couple years, and like the break I've taken from, you know, really doing music publicly, and, you know, COVID kind of impacting how I wanted to take a much shorter break, but, you know, obviously COVID happening and everything just kind of got thrown out of whack. So I have a lot of sad stuff, but then I also have a lot of like fun stuff, because in self-producing and in kind of controlling things from step 1 to the last step, other than mixing and mastering, because that's a science in its own, and I'm gonna have to find someone else to do that. But I have a lot of like really fun stuff that you know, it doesn't fit with that, the sad stuff, and I wouldn't want to put those songs on an album with stuff that has a lot of depth and meaning.
Right. Yeah. For sure.
So I have that album that was recorded and I don't have. I have the album of sad things. I have the album of fun things. I have an album that was supposed to come after the album that was recorded and I don't have. And then on top of all of this stuff, I also, when I started self-producing, I just grabbed a couple of old songs and was like, let's re-record them for fun, and then got super carried away and re-recorded all of it. So I have like deluxe reissues of all 3 of the EPs that I've put out, about 90% done each.
Oh wow.
The only thing that's left to put on them is like final vocals on one, like all the backing stuff and doubles and stuff are done, but I'm not settled on like final leads. Yeah. One of them, I just recently started doing vocals on, and one of them I haven't done any vocals on yet, just because it was the last of the 3. But
and now you have a Kingdom Hearts concept album coming.
Exactly. So I have so much stuff, and I don't know what I'm gonna do with all of it, and I don't know how I'm gonna do it all in a way that isn't like, here, let me just barf out 9 albums, but also isn't me this time 5 years from now still going, all right, well, let's continue playing catch up to stuff that I should have put out 2 years ago. You know?
For sure. Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, and it's a tough, like, that's a tough process, I'm sure, to work through in your position. And so but definitely anything in that arena, man, like, we're rooting for you. And so definitely for that side of things, we love to help any way we can. If that's encouragement, if that's whatever, man, we'll do it.
You can just like pop in on Instagram every now and then. Hey, are you
going to release it yet?
No.
Accountability.
What you need to say is just put down the controller and go record stuff.
Yeah.
Stop playing Final Fantasy. You don't need to buy another Gundam kit. Stop.
That's great, man. Well, hey, Garrett, thank you so much for hanging out with us and just, kind of hashing out a bunch of stuff and getting to learn, kind of more about your creative process. I think not only is insightful, for us, but then also there's people that a lot of the content we want to put out is for people who are just, trying to take that next step, whether it's they want to start songwriting or it's, they're dealing with writer's block, or if it's whatever, fill in the blank. And so I think that there's a lot of insight that you have that other people can kind of pick off of. And so,
well, I mean, if anything, like, if there's anything you can take away from, like, my process is, like, it has been super imperfect. I have been super imperfect over the almost 10 years that I've been doing it. But, like, I got to get on stage at Warped Tour and play. Yeah. Like, there are these, like, small goals that you can set for yourself. And it definitely eventually get to. And, like, obviously Warped Tour doesn't exist anymore. Right. Yeah. But, there's an equivalent in your mind, no matter what you're doing. Yeah. Whether it's music or not, because, like, I mean, I've got... One of the things that I started doing over the last couple of years that I never thought I would do is I'm scoring a video game.
Oh, wow. That's dope.
Yeah, this is the second video game I've been working on. The first one never came out. But this is the same group of developers, and it's supposed to tie into the story somehow, so maybe that first one will come out. I don't know. But, like, I don't know. Like, there's so many options to do the thing that you want to do. Maybe not so much in the way that you envisioned doing it. You know? Because people, like, especially as a music person, people always say, like, you have to have a backup plan. But, like, I have never had a backup plan. And, like, the backup plan to doing my own music was like, okay, well, I'll just do music for other people. Yeah. And now I'm scoring a video game.
Yeah, so, that's dope. That's dope, yeah. But, yeah, that's awesome, man. And thank you for taking the time to, like, jump in and just kind of talk through all that stuff, man. No problem. It means a ton, man. So, for the people out there that may not already be connected with you, what are those social media handles, what's all that stuff to where people can kind of stay connected with you?
So all of my personal accounts are Garrett Foster MD, and then pretty much all of the Messenger Down accounts are just at Messenger Down. I think the one exception to that is Twitter, because someone has had the at Messenger Down since like 2007 and hasn't tweeted since 2009, and I want it. But that one is Messenger Down NC. But yeah, my activity is super sporadic right now because, like, I'm still sorting so much out. Probably Garrett Foster MD will be the one I post on most often because I just started ice skating. And that's hard. So you can enjoy watching me.
That's a whole part 2 to this episode. Yeah. That's great, man.
I did that once and it didn't work out.
Yeah, I'm getting like pretty solid at it, but I'm still not great. I can kind of go backwards though. So I'm making strides.
I went backwards too, but it was for a different reason.
That's great. Well, hey, thank you guys so much for tuning in today, and man, we're grateful for you jumping in. And hey, thanks to Garrett once again, and man, we're excited for you and what's to come. And yeah, you guys, if you want to stay connected with us, be sure to like, subscribe. All that fancy stuff that they tell you to do nowadays, you can do that. If you don't, it's fine. We're not offended. But yeah, we appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we will see you next time.